Anna Murphy had come to the river alone, something she'd been warned against countless times. But the laundry needed washing and the midday sun was scorching, and she'd convinced herself that just this once would be fine. The small settlement was only half a mile away, close enough to hear if she screamed, or so she thought. She was kneeling by the water's edge, scrubbing a shirt against the smooth stones, when she heard the horses behind her. 3 men dismounted, their faces familiar from the saloon in town. Drifters, rough men who worked odd jobs and drank away their wages. The way they looked at her made Anna's blood run cold. She stood quickly, backing toward the water, but there was nowhere to run. The riverbank was steep on both sides, and they'd positioned themselves between her and the path back to town. They moved toward her with casual confidence, men who'd done terrible things before and never faced consequences. Anna opened her mouth to scream, but the sound died as rough hands grabbed her arms. She fought with everything she had, but 3 grown men against 1 woman was never a fair fight. They dragged her toward the trees, their laughter mixing with her desperate cries. What happened next came so fast it seemed like divine intervention, a shadow that moved with deadly purpose. But before we continue, if you believe in stories where heroes appear when needed most, hit that like button and subscribe, because we share powerful tales of courage and justice every single day. The first man went down without a sound, struck from behind. The hands holding her arms suddenly released as the second man spun around, reaching for his gun. He never cleared leather. A figure moved with impossible speed, disarming him with brutal efficiency and dropping him to the ground with a blow that echoed across the water. The third man managed to pull his knife. He lunged at their attacker, but the blade met only air as the figure sidestepped with the grace of a hunting cat. Within seconds, all 3 men lay groaning on the ground, disarmed and broken, while Anna stared at her savior with wide eyes. He was Apache, that much was immediately clear. Tall and lean, with long black hair and traditional clothing, he stood over the fallen men with a rifle now trained on them. His face was hard as stone, his dark eyes burning with rage. But when he glanced at her, checking if she was harmed, something in his expression softened. "Are you hurt?" he asked in accented English. Anna shook her head, unable to find words. Her hands were trembling, her dress torn at the shoulder where they'd grabbed her. She was moments away from something unspeakable, and this stranger had appeared like an avenging spirit. The Apache looked back at the 3 men, who were now trying to crawl away despite their injuries. "You will leave this territory," he said, his voice quiet but carrying absolute authority. "If I see your faces again, if I hear you have touched another woman, I will not stop next time at Broken Bones. I will take your lives as payment for your evil. Do you understand?" The men nodded frantically, blood streaming from broken noses. The warrior watched them stagger to their horses and ride away at a gallop. Only when they disappeared did he lower his rifle and turn his full attention to Anna. "I am called Kai," he said. "I was hunting when I heard you cry out." "I am sorry I did not arrive sooner. You saved me," Anna whispered, her voice breaking. "They were going to hurt me, and you stopped them." "I don't know how to thank you." Kai shook his head. "No thanks are needed. What they tried to do is an offense against all that is decent. Any man who would not stop it is no man at all." He paused, studying her torn dress and trembling hands. "Your settlement is close?" "Half a mile that way," Anna said, pointing with a shaking finger. "I will walk with you to make sure you arrive safely. Those men may have friends." As they walked together, Anna found herself talking, words spilling out in a nervous rush. She told him about her life in the settlement, about her husband who'd died of fever 2 years ago, about how she'd been trying to manage alone despite everyone telling her she needed to remarry for protection. She told him how isolated she felt, how tired she was of being seen as prey because she was a woman alone. Now you might wonder what makes someone risk everything to help a stranger, what drives a person to stand against evil when they could walk away. Share your thoughts in the comments about courage and doing what's right, because this story shows us something profound about human character. Kai listened without interrupting, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. When she finally fell silent, he spoke quietly. "In my culture, a woman alone is protected by the entire community. What happened to you today would bring shame on every man who knew and did nothing. Your people's way, where a woman must have a man to be safe, this is not strength. This is weakness disguised as custom." His words struck something deep in Anna's chest. For 2 years she'd internalized the message that she was somehow incomplete. somehow vulnerable because she lacked a husband. But Kai was right. The problem wasn't her. The problem was a society that saw women as prey and men as predators, with no middle ground for simple human decency. When they reached the edge of the settlement, Kai stopped. "I cannot go further. Your people do not trust Apache. They would shoot first and question after. Will you be all right?" Anna asked, caring deeply about this stranger's safety. "I have survived much worse than the distrust of settlers," Kai said with a slight smile. "But I would know that you are safe."
"Do you have people here who will protect you?"
Anna thought of the settlement, of the men who talked about protection but had never once volunteered to walk with her to the river. "I have people, but I've learned today that safety comes from those who act, not those who speak." Over the following weeks, Anna noticed Kai at the edges of her vision. He never approached the settlement, never made himself obvious, but he was there. When she went to the river, she'd catch glimpses of him watching from the ridge. When she walked to the trading post, she'd see him trailing at a distance, a silent guardian making sure those 3 men kept their word about leaving. Other women began to notice as well. They'd been suffering similar harassment, similar fears, but had learned to stay silent because complaining did no good. Anna told them about Kai, about what he'd done, and slowly things began to change. Women started going places in groups, started speaking up when men acted inappropriately, started demanding the protection their community claimed to offer but rarely delivered. One evening, Anna walked deliberately to the edge of town where she knew Kai would be watching. She set down a bundle of food and supplies wrapped carefully, then stepped back. From the shadows, Kai emerged. He looked at the bundle, then at her. "This is thanks," Anna said, "for more than just saving me that day, for showing me that I didn't need to accept the world the way it was, for proving that real strength is using power to protect, not to harm." Kai picked up the bundle, nodding his appreciation. "You have found your own strength. I only reminded you it was there. Will you keep watching?" Anna asked. "Not just over me, but over all of us. We're trying to make this place better, but we could use a guardian." "I will watch," Kai promised. "Not because you are weak, but because everyone deserves to live without fear. This is what warriors are meant to do." Years later, the settlement would be known as one of the safest in the territory for women traveling alone. The story of the Apache warrior who stopped 3 attackers became legend, a reminder that true heroism knows no boundaries of culture or race. Anna would tell anyone who asked that the day she almost lost everything was also the day she found her voice, her strength, and her understanding that justice sometimes comes from the most unexpected protectors. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that real heroes act without asking for recognition or reward, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Maybe they need courage to speak up. Maybe they need faith that good people still exist. Or maybe they just need to know that darkness doesn't always win. Subscribe for more stories about real bravery, real justice, and the unexpected ways people change the world. Thank you for being here and for believing that doing the right thing always matters. See you in the next story.